Hey everyone, ThePortraitArt here, back with another video demonstrating some tips on drawing. Once again, I'll be using my pure charcoal pencil on the smooth side of my sketch pad, which is slightly better for blending. Check description if you would like some. So at the start, I'm showing a very simple trick whenever you need to work with something that is very subtle and light, involves very subtle and light tone values, especially any area of the face that is relatively flat. As you can see, that exists in our reference areas that has very little contrast of light and shadow, which often makes it more difficult because now the tone value in that area is more subtle to get it right, and it is actually less tolerant to errors, assuming we're going for realism. So using something like a soft piece of tissue and applying the charcoal dust to the tissue first, then use the tissue to create the background tone, you end up getting a very light shade that is very smooth and evenly distributed. And it is also very susceptible to eraser, allowing you to easily adjust the subtle values. Overall, looking at the reference, the light and shadow areas are so clearly separated that it is a great example of how light and shadow defines form. And I have talked about the concept of shadow mapping, which is just areas that is clearly darker and falls into shadow. So you simply apply a darker shade in those areas that can very easily bring out the form. Again, no need to worry about the details at first. This drawing, in the reference, the shadow areas are so clearly defined. It is like shadow mapping for beginners because the strength of this concept is for drawings where such dark areas are not so clear, and the transition is more gradual, so you have to then, in your mind, simplify what you see and turn any image into almost like a reference like this. You can create very convincing drawings and 3D forms with as few as 3 tones. So get the basic form out correctly, bring that out, and details will be easy. For the most part, there's nothing new in this drawing process that I haven't talked about before. Starting with lighter values before you commit with darker values that are harder to adjust. Creating the structure of the face with fewer details, yet allow you to see if the overall feel and placement are correct or not. The more confident you are, the more you can commit to darker values and details, whether overall or in specific areas. The reference very much reminded me of anime, so I kind of went that direction a little bit further. I made the face wider than the reference and a bit rounder, and I made the eyes a tiny bit bigger. I also aimed at ultimately emphasizing on the details and realisms on the face, and as the drawing spreads out from the features, right, the more stylized and rough it can become. Lately, this is just my preferred style. My thinking is that you don't want to treat the drawing with the same style or detail everywhere, because then purely from a drawing perspective, nothing stands out, and you lost this great opportunity to play around with the viewer's attention and how they are focusing on your drawing, as well as creating interesting contrasts beyond just using value. So yeah, if you want a bit more information regarding the process, I may release a longer video in the future. There are also a couple of videos in my channel that is much longer, and again, check the description for my brand of art supplies as well as the discount codes. And I didn't commentate too much because I believe you guys can learn a lot by simply watching the video. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. And until next time, cheers!